The thing about Halo 1 that makes it immersive is just the entire package, the gameplay, the music, the graphics, the way that the levels are designed. It is a really good game. It's an old game, but there are times when I get totally lost in the music and what's going on and who I'm fighting that I actually feel as if I'm there, and I'm glad Bungie made the games how they did, because I like getting lost in this crazy sci-fi universe with its little bits of humour and its slightly dark tone to it, with its gritty guerrilla warfare with humanity on the edge of extinction almost, fighting against an alien conglomerate that wants to light up some Halo rings to take everyone on the great journey, even though they don't know what they're actually doing. And the same thing can't be said for, in particular, Halo 5. My name's Dave, and today I'm going to be going over some of my dislikes with the later Halo series and the way it's handled. See, I'm coming from a kind of older perspective. I've been a fan of Halo since I originally saw it in magazines before it was even going to be released. It was after the Macworld event I started seeing it in magazines, and originally what drove me to liking the game was the design of the Master Chief armor, or the Spartan armor, and the assault rifle in particular. I just thought that looked cool. I got really interested in Halo, and over the years I've played all of the campaigns on solo and with friends on different difficulty settings, and we've really enjoyed it all. You know, it's been a great experience, and there are many times we can share stories on multiplayer of really crazy things. I'm sure many of you can. The thing is, at the moment, 343 is not in everyone's good books, to put it lightly. Apart from, you know, the recent release of Halo Wars 2, which seems to be going quite smoothly, to be honest, compared to Halo 5. And the thing is, 343 are failing with the franchise, and Microsoft is partially to blame, because they set crazy deadlines and they make 343 stick to them, seemingly anyway. The reason why I say this is because by the time Halo 3 was developed, you can tell that Microsoft were kind of taking a back seat. I mean, even in the behind the scenes, Bungie admits that at first they were kind of breathing down the necks, trying to make them wear suits and ties to work. And by Halo 3 they were kind of like, yeah, we've got this down now, we own this, we can just have our own little office with an open floor plan, and we can just go in and out of each other's kind of desk area to figure out what's going on and to tweak different things, and that was cool. Bungie, by the end of it, had a really good time developing the original Halo trilogy and Reach. And then we come to the 343 involvement, and it seems like Halo is kind of on its way out. It's kind of dying. It's not as popular as it once was, and I think part of that can be attributed to Microsoft butting its nose in, because now we have all these action figures, and we have the hard attempt to get Halo to be in the esports with Halo 5, and we have all this other merchandise like Boomco guns and things like that. Now, sure enough, we had this stuff before. We had like the Halo 3 laser tag set, we had the Halo 1 through 3 figurines, and we had, you know, like a couple of statues, the helmets, things like that. But this was all additional stuff which actually looked like the stuff from in-game. The problem is that with 343 stuff, the stuff still looks like it's in-game. It looks really plasticky. The art style for Halo 4 and 5 is really bad in a way, because it makes everything look like it's toys. And it doesn't stop there. You know, it seems like Microsoft and 343 are heavily focused on selling rec packs and all these other additional things and trying to cram the additional lore more into the games, as well as selling these new books and things as a way to get money back for how much Halo 5 is probably failing, as well as the costs for the Master Chief Collection, because it seems like there's not much attention or care being paid to the games recently, apart from the recent release of Halo Wars 2. Now admittedly, I'm only a little bit into Halo Wars 2's story, which I'm enjoying. I have been playing Skirmish a lot, and I enjoy Skirmish. So it looks like things could be on the up and up for 343 and Microsoft. The problem is that with Halo 6 on the horizon, they have to solve a lot of problems. They have to decide what art style to go with, whether they're going to combine the two art styles. If they've not done this already, I do recommend that they go with the Halo Wars 2 style approach of having the new Halo 5 units being at the minimum and having the old art style that is more recognisable and is built up over the franchise's history be used as the primary art style. It would be a bit jarring and weird to see it in the very final game of this trilogy, but at least it would be better than dealing with another toy-looking game. Now on top of this, they have to wrap up the story, they have to deal with how they've wrote it at the moment, and if they write any more additional material to solve this issue, that's going to be a major problem, because people have already said they find it kind of awkward that you are constantly having to read extra books or comics and buy like different things to get the lore, which in the original game wasn't all there, but at least you could understand what was going on at a basic level and still enjoy the game. You know, it was a neat sci-fi story that you didn't need the Fall of Reach, you didn't need the First Strike or the Flood to really understand Halo 1 and what it was about, because you had the basics there and that was enjoyable. But instead, now that everything's lore-driven, you need all this extra content. You need Nightfall, you need the comics, you need the extra books if you want to know what happened to Book. And it's all extra things that people don't want to do. If you're going to make content like that, put it in the actual game. Don't just leave it out and do what you did with Halo 5 and start with the main threat from the last game of Spartan Ops be killed off in 2 seconds. You know, it seems like everything was very hastily wrapped up, and some YouTubers have claimed recently that Halo 5 was rushed by Microsoft, and I can see that happening, because Microsoft want to hit certain deadlines, and if they want to hit it, then they'll give orders to 343 to tell them to make a certain deadline, otherwise they won't pay them as much. That's probably what happens. The problem is with the lack of quality, or rather the lack of attention to quality, and then the rushing of the franchise. This is what is making it all go downhill. All the crazy decisions, all the weird things, like including rec packs as something that you can buy. Nobody, or rather about 90% of the gaming community, seems to be not very keen on microtransactions. So when you're kind of making the game almost pay to win in certain circumstances, or at least it seems like that, or just, you know, pay for these armors instead of actually unlocking them, then it doesn't make it as fun. I mean, for instance, some armors on Halo 3 could only be unlocked by completing the campaign, so of course everyone had enjoyed the story and enjoyed the campaign at least once to get all these armors unlocked. Whereas in Halo 5, you have to grind for rec packs, and that is not fun. Even the credit system in Halo Reach was pushing it a little bit. You had to save up multiple times for the different armors that you would buy. And the thing is, you would get people just trying to find ridiculous ways to grind points for the armors in that. You had the notorious orbital strike part in the campaign, where people would just orbital strike at a checkpoint on Sword Base to get the points over and over and over again and get a lot of credits. And And this is the problem you have when you introduce things like this, where you use either currency or real life money to buy things. You start getting these people that don't like microtransactions. You start getting these people that will try and abuse the system because they want everything a lot easier and a lot faster. The thing is, if you make them play through the campaign though, that actually gets them invested in the story and the overall franchise. You know, it gives them something to do and be invested in other than the multiplayer, even if it is for just unlocking armor. People might not agree with me, but honestly I found it quite interesting and fun to be able to go through the campaign and get stuff like the Hayabusa armor, or just complete it on a certain difficulty to get certain sets. It was fun to do, and it was fun to take friends through as well when they wanted to get the different pieces for Halo 3. The thing is as well, the lack of support for the community is just as bad. Like, for instance, the things that were meant to, or rather were in original Halo games but haven't been brought forward until 7 to 9 months after release recently, that's another issue, because if you're not supporting the games, then how do you expect them to grow? How do you expect them to be popular? Like with the Master Chief Collection, there is a lack of patches to make it playable again, and that is a major issue for people who want to enjoy the original franchise. Now, the easiest fix would have been to make all of them compatible on the Xbox One. The problem is that you will not sell units of the Master Chief Collection by doing that. Well, what's the other problem that the Master Chief Collection had? It was the fact that you tried to put 4 games using totally different versions of the same engine on one disc, and sure enough, they don't work with each other. Everything is buggy all over the place. The multiplayer doesn't work as it's meant to. There's just a myriad of issues streaming from the fact that it's been mishandled, it's been rushed. There is a lack of respect for everything because they just seem to be rushing it out to get money. And it's probably not just me that thinks this. If you look back at the way that Microsoft have handled things since the original trilogy up until now, it seems like because they got cocky with the franchise round about the time Halo 2 launched and became a big hit for Xbox Live, because they've become so cocky, they think, oh, it's okay, if we want to sell units, we'll just rely on a Halo game. The problem is that because Halo 5 sucked so much, and because it can't really become a major esport like they wanted it to, they now turn to Halo 6 to try and sell either the Scorpio or to try and keep the Xbox One alive. So, where do we go with Halo 6? We don't rush it. I think I've stated it before in this video, but we do not rush it. We make sure that Microsoft don't rush it and that they focus on our concerns. The concerns being the graphics, the way that the art style is done, the way that the gameplay is, that it doesn't play as if it's just another entry in the COD franchise that's been reskinned by some modder. That the story concludes itself in a satisfying way that doesn't feel like we're just waiting on a cliffhanger for another game or another book or movie or some sort of side content to explain everything. That everything is wrapped up so we don't have to purchase side content to get satisfaction from completing the game.
I thought the Covenant had eliminated all the Marine forces.
That it actually makes sense and that they're not contradicting themselves with their own narrative. And that whatever new features they add in are balanced. There's a lot of things that need to be tested and tweaked and need to be done to make fans happy. And this, for many, including myself, will be the last chance that 343 have to prove themselves. Otherwise, I will not be buying another Xbox, and I will not be buying another Halo game. It sounds dramatic and it sounds like a bluff, but until Halo Wars 2 came out, I was not bothered with Halo anymore. And I have been a major fan. I have created lots of levels for Halo PC, modding it, and that was fun. That was really fun. I've played all the campaigns over and over again. I have basically a Halo shrine of memorabilia and different merchandise in my room from Halos 1 through to Reach that shows how big a fan I am, how much I enjoyed it, and how much I enjoyed that student attitude that Bungie had towards development. You know, they were kind of like, okay, let's make things cool and fun before we develop anything or add anything. Make sure that everything is balanced so we're not adding 50 million guns in, because of course that's going to be ridiculously hard to balance. The way we design things is fun and isn't just kind of your average sci-fi thing, and that there's this kind of comedic element to it, that it's not all super serious, you know, that there's a slight bit of fun that can be had. You can play with friends on co-op, on split screen, on one console, which isn't forcing you to buy multiple units, and the gameplay for multiplayer isn't so much focused on esports, but still requires skill to play, so you don't feel like it's being marketed to just the hardcore fans, so that you can get people, average people, enjoying it again, and get that large audience that Halo 3 and Reach once had to actually give a damn about the franchise. Because if you can't do that with Halo 6, then I cannot see the Halo franchise continuing. It was hard to kind of stomach when 343 said we want the franchise to last for another 10 years, and if I remember rightly, this was just last year. If you are going to continue doing this kind of rushed design, or rather rushed style of building your games, hardly anyone is going to care, hardly anyone is going to buy them. You need to pay proper attention, and you need to make sure that you are not put under pressure by developers or producers, that you actually test the games properly, and that you don't just rely on day one patches, and also that you support the community with good community managers. If you don't have a good community to back up your game, no one is going to play it in 9 months' time. That's why the Master Chief Collection is dead. It gets no patches, and thus you have no community. It's a shame. It is a real shame with the Master Chief Collection. It was meant to be the one thing that would have people flocking to buy Xbox Ones. The announcement itself got me hyped up. 4 games, 4 of the best games I've ever played, that got me immersed, that got me interested in developing video games, that got me creating video game content, and got me into the industry itself. 4 fantastic games. That being Halo 1, 2, 3, and ODST. And you put them all on one disc, and then you mess it up and don't support it. You rush it and leave it full of bugs and everything. I can't understand this. Why would you do that? Why would you mess up something so big? Why would you rush it so much? Nobody was rushing you. You could have announced delays and everyone would have been fine with it, but instead you rushed it out the door because there was a tie-in with Halo 5. Those couple of cutscenes in Halo 2 that give you context to what was going to go on in Halo 5 and really hyped it up, but then weren't used the same way in Halo 5 when it actually came out. So it was all for nothing. Please don't rush things in future. Please take your time and develop something decently, and actually learn from your mistakes, learn from what fans are saying, and learn from the people that came before you that you are constantly living in the shadow of, because the only reason you have any success is because the people at Bungie made this series what it is, and the extra content, like the lore, the books, the action figures, the comics, the TV shows like Forward Unto Dawn and Nightfall, these were all made possible because Bungie made something that became popular. So please respect their legacy and actually take your time to make something that's fun and engaging. I'm out.